is not a clear-cut case of the ramping up pressure on India, especially the way official warning has been given to India that not to go ahead with this import from Iran. Secondly, when someone asked, journalist asked someone in the US department that if India goes ahead, what will happen? It was clearly said that the secondary sanction would be imposed on the certain Indian companies, including the Chinese companies as well. So this is the clear-cut warning to India. Why why US is doing it at the cost of, let's say, if India and China go ahead, to buy import from oil from Iran, this will somehow be not beneficial for both India and the US.
Well, I think that first and foremost, United States have to understand that they cannot deal with India today as a subservient country to whom they can actually threaten with sanctions and literally force India to do whatever they want that to be done. So there are 4 areas where the problems are happening. Number one is, as Dr. Raghuvan said, issues with Russia buying with not just the S-400 air defense system, but other missile systems and weapon systems also. Primarily, United States want India to buy more from them and not to from Russia at all. Secondly, they are saying that don't buy at all from Iran, or we will have threats of sanctions are there. They are trying to keep the Saudi lobby happy. Third is, of course, the tariff war which has started
between India and US.
Between United States and everybody else in the world. The European Union, China, India, and they are forcing countries not to have any trade with Russia on anything, not just defense systems, but also on issues of oil also. So they have the CAATSA in place, that Countering American Adversaries to Sanctions Act. And the fourth and a very important point is there is this issue of United States Commission for International Religious Freedom. And they came out with a report with some very malicious and biased statements against India. And they did that report based on inputs given by the local partners of certain international NGOs whose work in India was suspicious for a long period of time, and they have been forced either to be blacklisted by the Modi government, or they have been forced to come under Foreign Currency Contribution Regulation Act, so that their activities can be monitored. A lot of these NGOs are upset with India, so that report was based on some malicious intent. So these are the 4 areas. Now the thing today as it stands is that what they are doing with India is not an case in isolation. They have done exactly the same with European Union. They have done things with Russia. I can still understand that you have a trade war, but you can't force somebody to that you don't buy anything from Russia or I will put sanctions on you. Especially when we have 70% of our weapon systems coming from Russia. Imagine what would happen to if the spares stop coming. And then we are the second largest client of Iran when it comes to procurement of oil. So we have bought things from United States as well. We bought the C-17 crafts, we bought the PA-type Poseidon surveillance crafts, we bought the C-130, we gave order for Chinook helicopters, we gave order for Apache helicopters, we bought the Harpoon missiles. After that, if they say that if you buy from anyone else, I'm going to put sanctions, I'm sorry to say they did that in 1998.
But when he pulled out, when Trump pulled out from this US-Iran deal and put the more sanctions against Iran, many countries, including European countries and China and Russia, criticized the move and said that we will not toe the line of the US. So do you think that practically it is possible on the part of the US to put sanctions, the severe sanctions against Iran?
Well, there's a problem.
Or will not
the problem is if they impose the sanctions, there are certain practical problems because of which some kind of a balancing act has to be done by India. Because the oil which is purchased by India from Iran, that oil comes through international containers or ships. Those ships are insured by global insurance organizations, and their all banking transactions happen through dollar. So if there are sanctions, then there are issues of insurance of that, there are issues of payment of that. That is one area where India would have to think twice. That's why what is happening on issues or transactions with Russia, we are trying to have a rupee-ruble exchange mechanism for transactions. But let me tell you, today India is far more resilient than what it used to be in 1998 when they first imposed sanctions on India after the nuclear test. That time we had a mere $26 billion foreign exchange reserve. Today we have a $400 billion plus foreign exchange reserve. That time, in spite of the sanctions, Bill Clinton came to India. So they realized that it's not going to not working. So today, the world has become multidimensional. There are trading parties, and in contrast to what happened China has reduced its tariff or a place to cut tariffs on Indian products to the tune of 8,500 products.
Yeah.
So China is looking at it as an opportunity. So I feel, I look at it on a concluding note, that the BRICS nations are going to come together, closer. Not that India's relation with United States is gone for a toss. The fundamentals are still very strong. But I think there will be some kind of an equilibrium coming, where the Americans will realize, just as they realized in 2000 that India has the right to have nuclear weapons, that today India also has the right to have trades with Russia, trades with Iran, while keeping relation with United States good.
Dr. Sinha,